A very good evening to you. Many thanks for joining us tonight on the broadcast right here on KUTV. We have a lot in store for you about what concerns you in your world and in Kenya and across our borders. We begin with the highlights. Judiciary condemns increased abduction targeting government's critics, with Inspector General of Police saying the police are not involved. Is the messenger safe? Collision between the state and the media threatens freedom of the press in safeguarding civic space. 3 people die in road accident along Katito-Kindubei Road on Thursday morning. And in our special events feature tonight, we bring you a roadmap of 2024 femicide cases and a call to action to create a safe space for women.
This is KUTV Primetime News with Anyango, Sylvia.
That's right, and our sign language interpreter tonight is Sami Okelo. This broadcast is coming to you live on YouTube at KUTV News Kenya, and you can engage with us on X. Send us your feedback at KUTV_Kenya at Anyango Sylvia KE. We begin. The judiciary has joined the opposition and religious leaders in condemning the increasing wave of abductions targeting young Kenyans critical of President William Ruto's administration. In a statement on Thursday, judiciary noted that Kenya is a constitutional democracy where the rule of law is fundamental and a guiding principle of governance. It further called on security agencies and other relevant bodies to adhere to the law to safeguard fundamental rights and freedoms. The judiciary statement came hours after Inspector General of Police Douglas Kanja dismissed allegations linking police officers to the abductions, terming them as false information aimed at tarnishing the image of the police, the image of the national police rather. Kanja, while emphasizing that the police arrest criminal offenders through lawful procedures and not abductions, reiterated that Independent Policing Oversight Authority (IPOA) and other independent bodies are investigating the claims of abductions. However, a majority of Kenyans seemed to disagree with the police boss on who is responsible for the kidnapping being witnessed, raising questions why police had not arrested the abductors. An alarming trend that emerged during Gen Z protests in Kenya this year is the violence and intimidation faced by journalists. As the nation grappled with a wave of youth-led demonstrations, the very people tasked with documenting the truth found them under attack. Emmanuel Kutosi sheds more light on the unfortunate occurrence.
The Gen Z protests began as a call for accountability and better governance, but they revealed a darker reality for members of the press. Over the months of the unrest, journalists covering these events reported being harassed, injured, and in some cases deliberately targeted.
Kitendo ambacho kilitokea pale Nakuru kwa mmoja wetu kupigwa risasi bila shaka si cha kupendeza. Na pia katika shughuli ambazo tumekuwa nazo hapa jijini Nairobi tangu maandamano yaanze, baadhi ya maafisa wa polisi ambao tuliweza kuwashuhudia, wengine walikuwa wanaturushia vitoa machozi.
Uhuru huo hawajatupa kwa 100%. Bado wanaufinya.
The incident which involved police officers is not only an attack on an individual but direct assault on press freedom and safety of journalists.
Jana kuna maafisa ambao walikuwa hapa, walikuwa wanachukua nambari za magari zetu kama waandishi wa habari na wametupiga picha. Hivyo hiyo ni njia moja ya vitisho ambavyo tumekuwa tukipokea kama waandishi wa habari.
Freedom of the press is enshrined in Kenya's constitution, but the events of 2024 painted a different picture. While condemning the incidents, the Media Council of Kenya revealed that 24 journalists had sustained injuries tied to the protest coverage.
To a police station to do his work, another Kenyan goes to a media house to do his work, and they fight on the streets all day, and they go home the same day. I hope that as a country that has matured democratically, we can find a way to engage and disagree in principle without fighting each other.
From being caught in the crossfire of tear gas and rubber bullets to having equipment confiscated or destroyed, journalists faced mounting challenges in their mission to report the truth. Some were arrested on allegations of incitement, while others suffered injuries that left them hospitalized.
So it's my prayer that they fast track my investigation so that I can get my justice.
With journalist Wanjeri Kariuki surviving 4 bullets while in the line of duty, the attacks on journalists drew sharp criticism from media watchdogs such as the Kenya Editors Guild that condemned the continued targeted and brazen attacks on journalists, arguing that targeting the press undermines democracy and denies citizens their rights to be informed.
The harm that Wanjeri underwent, and as an organization IPOA, we sent our apology to her, and we wish her quick recovery.
The violence against journalists arguably reflects a broader trend of shrinking civic space in Kenya. The fear and intimidation faced by the press have had a chilling effect on reporting in the wake of fake news.
Jamhuri Day is also a moment for Kenyans to expose the fake news aimed at discrediting our ambition, sabotaging our hope, and seeking to dampen our resolve.
As we end the 2024, questions remain about what the future holds for Kenya's media landscape. Will the government take steps to protect journalists and uphold press freedom? Or will the violence witnessed this year mark a turning point in how protests and the press are policed?
We agree that the safety of journalists is critical. We believe in the freedom of the media. We endeavor to protect it. Our constitution has guaranteed these freedoms. And you expect it in a society, occasionally there will be infractions. The problem is when we do not address those infractions as we are required.
For journalists on the ground, the fight is far from over. Their coverage in documenting Kenya's struggles is a reminder of the vital role the press plays in shaping our understanding of the world.
I want to commit for the journalist who was hurt here in this city. That is quite unfortunate. And normally when an event like that happens, there are 2 ways of dealing with it. One is through the internal police, internal affairs police unit, but also more objectively through the IPOA, the Independent Police Oversight.
As we reflect on the challenges and triumphs of 2024, let us remember the sacrifices made by those who risked their lives to tell our stories. Emmanuel Kutosi, KUTV.
On to a sad news tonight. 3 people died on Thursday morning in a road accident at Kong'o Market in Kisumu's Nyakach sub-county. The accident occurred along the Katito-Kindu Bay Road following a head-on collision between a PSV matatu heading towards Homa Bay and a motorcycle heading towards Katito. Reports indicate that the motorcyclist, who is among the deceased, was carrying 4 pillion passengers when he collided head-on with the oncoming 14-seater matatu. The other 3 seriously injured were rushed to St. Anne's Nyadero Hospital. The bodies of the deceased were taken to Paponditi Sub-County Hospital mortuary and the wreckage towed to Paponditi Police Station yard. Embu Senator Alexander Mundigi has called on local leaders to unite in supporting the Kenya Kwanza government, urging them to put aside their personal interest and avoid seeking credit for development projects from either the national or county governments. Speaking in Embu town, Senator Mundigi emphasized that Kenyans are concerned with the delivery of quality services rather than the attribution of projects to individual leaders. He further appealed to the Kenya Kwanza government to prioritize the construction of major dams in Mbeere region, which will provide water to marginalized areas and enhance agricultural activities, including muguka farming in the region.
Kumekuwa na vita ya hapa na pale na leaders na wale walichaguliwa ya PMC, lakini kutoka siku ya leo tumekubaliana tuanze mambo mpya ambaye ile mambo tunashukuru ambaye rais wetu William Ruto na pia Professor Abraham Kindiki Kithure ambaye wanaendelea kutusaidia na ile pesa milioni 800 ndio hiyo modern market yetu iweze kuisha. Kwa sababu tumeongea tukaona kama tutaendelea na ile vita iko katika county zile zingine ama ile vita ambayo ilionekana siku ambayo iliyopita, tukiona leaders tunapigana tunaanza kupiga kelele, tumekubaliana kutoka leo tumesema hatutapigana na tumekubaliana tutaenda safari moja. Pia tumekubaliana wataanzisha sako yao na pia nitawarejestia, na pia tumekubali na mtu mmoja ati tumekubaliana tutaunga serikali ya muungano ya William Ruto na deputy wake Professor Kindiki Kithure.
A new initiative aimed at enhancing livelihoods and promoting biodiversity while mitigating the effects of climate change has been launched in the Malindi and Magarini constituencies of Kilifi County. The Nzalani Farmers Initiative project seeks to improve agricultural practices by empowering farmer groups and engaging with decision makers.
According to Raphael Mzungu Ngoma, the executive director of IPDK, many agricultural initiatives introduced by the national and county governments have failed to achieve the desired impact. And to solve that, he is advocating for platforms for farmers to voice their concerns while engaging with decision makers to build stronger farm organizations for better results.
Farmers Initiative inaangazia kwamba tuweze kuongeza mazao, wakulima waweze kuzalisha vizuri. Lakini ili wakulima waweze kuzalisha, inalazimu wakulima wawe na sauti katika mipango aidha ya serikali na hata ya makundi yasiyokuwa ya kiserikali.
The project is set to begin with the establishment of farmer field schools, where farmers will receive training at central locations and be able to replicate the knowledge to other farmers.
Hapa tunachokifanya cha kwanza ni kwamba tutatumia mfumo wa farmer field school, na kwa njia hiyo wakulima watakuwa wanaweza kujifundisha at a central place na waweze kureplicate kwa wakulima wengine.
IPDK shall target honey production in communities within the 8 wards, starting with an initial 40 modern beehives, and at the same time encourage farmers to plant drought-resistant crops due to the fluctuating rain season, and to venture into livestock production using animal droppings as manure to improve soil fertility. Pastor Frederick Njape Lugo urged fellow farmers to employ modern farming practices and agroforestry for higher yields and to meet the government's requirement that at least 10% of every farm be under tree cover.
Ikiwa climate change itakuwa ni ambayo inakuwa imekuwa affected kwa sababu ya kutokuwa na rutuba katika mashamba yetu na hata katika mimea yetu ambayo inaleta ile mchangamano wa nitrogen na oxygen, kwa sababu kama shamba lako utafagia miti yote, hutaweza kuwa na hizo oxygen ya kukutosha, na hata mvua, climate change pia inaonekana itakuwa ina affect jinsi vile hali ya anga inakuwa. Inatufundisha kuhusiana na kuweka miti ambayo ni ya faida katika mashamba yetu, kama ni kwa mifugo, kama ni kwa wewe binadamu, unapanda miti ambayo baadaye utakuja ivuna iwe ni ya chakula na hata pia faida kwa mfuko.
Huwa tunahamasisha watu katika kijiji, si kile kijiji peke yake, hata location kwa pamoja, kuhusu umuhimu wa kupanda miti. Hata kwa saa hii tulipata ufadhili wa kupitia mambo ya upanzi wa miti, tukapata kuchimbiwa damu pale Kaskini, ili watu wakuwa wanaweza kuweka nurseries pale na kupanda hata mimea pale.
Ochieng Cynthia, KUTV.
And that story by Ochieng Cynthia takes us to a very fast break on the broadcast tonight. Don't go far, I'll be back with more stories.
Access to knowledge, solution to unanswered questions.
Guidelines to pursuing your rights and repossessing your property, intellectual or material.
This and more only on Law Matters.
Hi, my name is Stella Tioi.
Jina langu naitwa Okemwa Mokwa James.
This is Mandela Gaya.
Ugonjwa ulipokuja ulichukua siku 3 ukaniweka in coma. 20 wamezikwa, 2 ndio wako hai.
I don't even know how it feels to see.
I feel like I cannot express myself well the way somebody who can walk can actually express themselves.
Ilichukua muda mwingi mrefu tena mpana ili kuikubali kwamba mimi siwezi tembea tena.
I've come to actually accept myself.
Ukijaribu kumsimamisha mtu umwambie tafadhali nionyeshe njia,
They find it quite strange talking to you.
You should just make schools integrated,
Inclusive setups.
by providing the right facilities.
You are watching KUTV Primetime News with Anyango, Sylvia.
Welcome back. Remember to keep engaging with us on our social media platforms. That is on X at KUTV_Kenya and YouTube at KUTV News Kenya. Now on to our special feature tonight. Kenya has for a long time since January 2024 been rocked by a troubling increase in femicide cases, with headlines overshadowed by the horrific murders of women nationwide. This escalating crisis did ignite widespread protest, with activists and citizens calling for justice and immediate action to tackle the entrenched misogyny and the violence faced by women. Cynthia Ochieng with this special feature.
Barely 3 weeks into the new year of 2024, dark shadows had fallen over Kenyan women. The headlines, which should have been filled with hope and aspiration for the future, were instead dominated by grim reports of femicide. A prime suspect responsible for the murder of the bodies discovered at Quarry Dam site in Mukuru Kojenga.
Aged man on suspicions of murdering a 24-year-old woman, Starlet
Husishwa na mauaji ya kikatili ya Rita Waeni.
The rising death toll of women, victims of brutal acts of violence, painted a bleak picture of a society still deeply entrenched in misogyny. The growing wave of femicide reached a boiling point, sparking the largest ever anti-femicide protest across Kenya. With women and activists taking to the streets, their voices echoed the urgent demand for justice and an end to violence against women.
Stop killing women! Stop killing women! Stop killing women!
As the nation watched in shock, the cases continued to flood the news. It became clear that these were not isolated incidents, but part of a larger, more insidious pattern that had become deeply ingrained in societal structures. The cases such as the brutal killings of Scarlett Wahuu, Ugandan long-distance runner Rebecca Cheptegei, and Rita Waeni were just a few of the many women whose lives were tragically cut short. The murderers from Quarry, alongside countless other unreported cases, underscored the dehumanization of women.
Area which is called number area, which is the lower abdomen, whereby the person cut through the spine. The other body, I think we're going to, because of time, we will not start interrogating it. We are going to start do the exercise on Wednesday, because tomorrow we're going to dedicate it for of X-ray of all those remaining body parts which are in body bags. So that is all.
For me, the occurrence of femicide, which is being done in a very flagrant manner, how, for example, I keep asking myself, how can those bodies of young women be dumped in a quarry next to a police station? It goes on, and it has gone on. So many bodies just being dumped there on the nose, or under the glare of the police. That is a governance issue. Is there complicity? Is it lack of failure on the part of the state organs to protect and promote the rights of Kenyans and the women in particular?
The blame and stigma surrounding the victims continued to mask efforts to curb the epidemic of femicide. Victims were often portrayed as the cause of their own deaths.
What we are saying is that we don't want to be blamed because you are being killed. That woman that was killed in Malunga, she was killed in her home. She was not killed because she was after anybody's money. She was not killed because she has taken anything from anyone. She was killed because she was a woman. And we don't want people blaming our young women that they are being killed because they love money. Nobody is forcing anybody to give anybody money. Yes. To be realistic. And we are not forcing men. Men are killing us. And what we are saying is that stop killing.
The Kenya National Commission for Human Rights outlined that at least 97 women had been murdered in the last 3 months. The Kenya National Police, on its end, indicated that between August and October, there were at least 100 femicide cases. The Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi on 19th December announced that the country had recorded a total of 7,107 sexual and gender-based violence cases from September 2023. Consequently, this sparked widespread national debate as women, activists, and human rights organizations rallied to bring voice the systemic nature of the violence that women faced daily, calling for it to be pronounced as a national crisis.
There is complicity on the part of government. There is complicity on the part of law enforcement agents, and I don't think we are taking the lives of women seriously. When perpetrators of death, of femicide, can just walk out of a police station and go. And as a country, what are you telling us? As a government, what are you telling us?
During the 16 days of activism against gender-based violence that started on November 25th, activists marched to raise awareness and prevent femicide. Even so, the crisis persisted, with the death toll rising, highlighting the deep-rooted nature of the issue and urgency for change. On 20th of November, the pressure from women leaders and activists forced President William Ruto to acknowledge the crisis, where he called for collective action from all members of the society to confront the rise in femicide, as well as emphasizing the importance of serving justice swiftly for those responsible for the heinous acts.
This morning, I had the honor of a meeting with women leaders to discuss a pressing and deeply troubling issue: the increasing cases of femicide in our country. The stories of lives tragically cut short and families shattered by this vice demand our immediate and urgent action. It is a stark reminder that we must act swiftly and decisively to protect the lives and the dignity of every woman and girl in Kenya. Let me reiterate that the government, in its women's agenda, is explicitly committed to ending all forms of violence. As leaders, we are united in the resolve to ensure that justice is swift and efficient.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi and former Deputy Chief Justice Dr. Nancy Barasa emphasized that the ongoing femicide cases should serve as a stark reminder that Kenya, despite its democratic status, was failing to protect half of its population.
That we must, as a country, address the issue of femicide, that we must revisit our values, our constitutional values of rule of law, of respect for human dignity, because what is happening to women is a complete violation of the dignity of women.
Gender-based violence is a major violation of women's human rights, as well as a criminal and social problem. We are particularly concerned about the alarming cases of violence against women, including intimate partner violence reported in Kenya in recent months. This trend shows a breakdown in our values and morals.
December 10th saw women across Kenya stage a mega march against femicide with the aim of calling for change and sanity on the matter. However, they were met with hostile police officers who scattered the crowd while firing tear gas canisters, silencing the voices demanding a safer future for women. A specialized, recently formed missing persons unit, domiciled at the Directorate of Criminal Investigations Homicide Unit, now stands as one of the avenues bringing an array of hope for women towards fighting gender-based violence. Ocheng Cynthia, KUTV.
Now on to news across our borders. U.S. President-elect Donald Trump's return to the White House is creating some uncertainties in Taiwan, prompting the island to seek to engage with the incoming administration amid rising military threats from China.
From military personnel to civilians, Taiwan's residents have been preparing for an uncertain future, with the new U.S. president soon to take office and mounting pressures from China. Beijing considers self-governed Taiwan a part of China and says it will use force, if necessary, to make that claim a reality. While President Joe Biden has repeatedly said the U.S. will come to Taiwan's aid if China were to attack, President-elect Trump has suggested Taiwan should pay the U.S. for its defense.
I'm a bit worried because it's hard to tell what Trump is saying, what he's actually doing, and what he's doing behind the scenes, things that we can't see. He's always acted in his own interest and the interest of the United States.
While Trump has picked prominent China hardliner Marco Rubio and Michael Waltz as potential cabinet nominees, his comments on Taiwan have been vague. Here's Trump's response in July 2023 in an interview with Fox News.
I don't want to say what I'm thinking. You know, if I answer that question, it'll put me in a very bad negotiating position.
We don't know at this point if he means it when he wants to return the United States to a more isolationist position.
China's position is clear from this November 7th press conference.
China firmly opposes any form of official interaction between the United States and Taiwan.
Some Taiwan residents think that democratic island's values will help cement relations with the U.S. and like-minded countries.
Trump wants to differentiate himself from Biden, so he has his personal views, but I don't think that will affect Taiwan's value in the U.S. or as part of the global line of defense.
Experts also agree major changes in U.S.-Taiwan relations under the next administration are unlikely.
The mood is that we will be very careful and very watchful about the development, but we're not panicking. We also have a very strong bipartisan support in the Congress, and that always can be Taiwan's best ambassadors to sustaining and improving the Taiwan-U.S. relations and in all different fields.
While Taiwan continues to court the U.S. and prepare for the incoming Trump administration, China has been ramping up military pressure toward the island since Taiwan President Lai Ching-te took office in May, with exercises around Taiwan and Coast Guard incursions. The actions are as much directed at Taiwan's government as its voters, says Ko.
They're hoping that by creating this sense of embattlement and containment of Taiwan, that eventually that would compel Taiwanese voters, if not Taiwanese government, to engage in risk avoidance.
Ko says Beijing's level of aggression toward Taiwan may depend on its assessment of the new Trump administration's policies for Taiwan and China. William Yang, VOA News, Taipei, Taiwan.
In sports tonight, Kenya Women Volleyball Premier League's champions KCB Curve Zone V defending champions Kenya Pipeline and Kenya Prisons men and women teams are among the 5 teams that will represent the country in the upcoming Curve B Zone V Club Championship slated for 16 to 22nd of February 2025 at the Lugogo Indoor Stadium in Uganda. Kenyan contingent consisting of 3 women teams that include holders Kenya Pipeline will be out to battle for glory, while men's side will see Kenya Prisons and Kenya Ports Authority challenge for the men's crown currently held by Rwanda Police. And Sporting Lisbon have acquired the services of Victoria head coach Rui Borges as head coach after sacking João Pereira, who took over from Ruben Amorim after leaving the club for Manchester United, was in charge of Portuguese side for just over a month and endured a difficult spell at the helm. Sporting lost 4 to their 8 games under Pereira, resulting in them being knocked off the top of the Portuguese Premier League, with the rivals Benfica sitting pretty comfortable in the driver's seat. Borges, who has penned a 6-month contract with an option for a further 1-year extension, now faces the challenge of chasing another championship. Now that is it from us tonight. Thank you so much for choosing KUTV and for staying with KUTV News at 9 this far. Our sign language interpreter tonight is Sami Okelo, and I'm Anyango Sylvia. Have yourself a lovely night.